In the month of March, I would give our team an absolute perfect 10. The other 11 months of the year, I think we're a 5. And the reason I say that is, I think on all those categories, beyond, do we get rewarded for our audience and all these types of things? Yeah, we do in part, but we don't get the full faith and credit that we deserve. Do we have great discussions, in and around college basketball with a myriad of clients? Absolutely. The biggest names and the biggest spenders in the business, from AT&T and General Motors and Coca-Cola and the like. But we don't have that level of dialogue the other 11 months of the year, and that's frustrating to me as a person who really believes strongly in what we're bringing to the table. Meaning at any given day you can reach 1.5 million men that are enthusiastically following something they're passionate about. In my particular case, it's sports, but across CBS Interactive, it may be games, it may be business news, it may be technology, maybe a number of different things. And as a result, I feel like we need to have a better conversation. And I feel like selectively we can do this. And I have this whole theory that we talk about a lot internally. As one of our sales mantras, which is the rule of 180, that there's really only 180 days you can make a difference in any given year. When you back out long weekends and holidays and everything else, you're only really at the table or on the phone or across an IM or texting a client 180 meaningful times. And so if you're trying to grow your business off a base of $100 million, those 180 conversations have to be really substantial. Our hope is that we can do that with our agency partners and the clients sitting at the same table. That's ideal for us. The coordination of that, just because of proximity, doesn't always happen quickly. And you can't simply walk into those meetings kind of the way we walked in this panel, half hung over and haggard, and hope for the best results. I mean, you really have to be prepared and diligent about your approach. You have to have a thoughtful conversation. You have to know what their business needs are, what they're trying to do to build their brand, and how you can help them do that. Because at the end of the day, no matter what your clients are doing, they have a story to tell, and they need to help you tell that story. And you have to be able to do it effectively and efficiently, in both in terms of time and cost. So it's really, as much as I'd love to give us, the big high marks across the board, there's constant room for improvement. And that's fine, because that's why it's business.
So before we were bought in 2007, we were a 2. I mean, it was not good. I mean, seriously.
But you're supposed to be rating advertisers, not yourself.
Well, I mean,
so
it's
that's why if we're rating yourself, then I'll get back on stage. I'll rate you guys too.
But it's two sides of the coin. I mean, I'm telling you, it was 2 in both ways, and now it's an 8. And I'll tell you why, because of what you alluded to, which is you can have that harsh conversation. Now that we're part of the family, these guys, feel free, all the media buyers, tell us exactly what went wrong. You fucked up here, or you guys, I'm serious. And they're very harsh about it because, the good news is they will take the meeting with us at any time, and then we're doing a lot of work for them on the other side of the house, on the buy side of the house. So we hear exactly what the issue is, and there's no polite talk anymore. This is, let's get down to business. This is where you as a network is not delivering value, right? This is where we just can't touch it just because it won't be good for us or our client. And then right now, now that we've kind of hit our footing, we can now push back and say, okay, this is where you're dropping the ball. This is where it's structurally not efficient to grow the overall market. And so we're having this big adult conversation now between publisher and advertiser. And keep in mind that Chinese wall is quickly dropping. Every advertiser is a publisher. Every publisher is an advertiser in some regard. And so you need to have that honest conversation about what the structural and social issues are on both sides of the coin. And once you can have that type of conversation, then I think we're in a very good position to do so from our perspective. Then you can move the ball forward. Because until you do that, you're just kind of being polite. And being polite doesn't make money.
Good. So kind of common thread is advertisers and the media sellers coming closer together, collaborating, coming up with more creative solutions. The other thing that I would notice is that Yelp is not a compete client, CBS is not a compete client, and 24/7 is a compete partner. And Yelp was a 6, CBS was a 5, and 24/7 is an 8. So if I were to do a correlation there, I think there's an obvious conclusion that I would draw.
-2, right, before we got with compete.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, any other parting questions, any other parting thoughts for our media sellers there? Uh-oh.
I think the grades are fine, but the one thing that's really important for us to recognize is it's impossible to be a 10, or an 8 is not an 8, it's a 7.2, whatever, because we have an ecosystem that really doesn't flow from beginning to end. We don't have Nielsen in the planning, buying, and posting phase We don't have a ComScore across the spectrum. We have them in the planning phase. We've got impressions in the buying phase. We've got dynamic logic in the posting phase, right? We've got a broken ecosystem. We don't have an EDI that goes from beginning to end. So collectively, we all need to work together to actually fix this system so that we can be attended.
So the question is, right, as disjointed as it is, at least it has the individual components to make the promise a reality. I mean, this channel is fantastic because it's the fastest growing channel. Money needs to go to this channel in a dramatic way. What other channel even has the components to measure in a unified way that you can rely on the data from a brand and direct response perspective? So at least we have the components, and I agree with you that fundamentally it's up to all the leaders within the sector to figure out, get over the co-opetition issue, right? Because everyone competes, but it's more important to grow the pie, right? So that everyone can benefit. And if that's the case, we got to get over ourselves in terms of where we have the friction, and just agree to a common currency, a common standard. Like, I don't understand. So this is what we're going to be working on. We're going to create the de facto GRP for our online business between Scott and Steve and the good folks at WPP. I think I'm going to get my bonus this year. We're going to come up with the new currency so that we can all speak the same language. And that's really going to be more important than if I go up one notch on the rankings or go down one notch, because everyone needs to do better because money needs to flow into this sector in a meaningful way.
Agreed. I want to thank you guys. Quick round of applause for David, Rich, and John.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you. Good discussion.
Yeah, thank you.